All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of TMM Tech Talk. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, get your notebooks, your pens, pencils, and tonight we're gonna finally demystify and get things straight on this dual evaporator refrigerant for the LG or the Kenmore 795. So with all that said, to my seal system brothers, my brothers or sisters, whoever's thinking about getting into sealed systems, or for those who are already in it, stick around. Maybe you might learn something. Maybe you already know all of this. Nonetheless, just gonna go over some things tonight. So tonight's training is gonna be in regards to dual evaporator refrigerant circuits. Okay. Now, if you don't have any sealed system knowledge, none of this is gonna make sense. I would say learn that first and then come back and watch this so that you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you do sealed systems or you interested in sealed systems or you're studying sealed systems, this is going to be good stuff tonight. Well, with all that out the way, let's get right into it. Okay. Obviously, yellow is clearing the cap tube. They're probably referring to capillary tube. Backflush represents green, blue, isolate heat exchanger, red isolate condenser loop. Alright, this is in regards to the LG 795. All technicians must go through refrigeration. Okay. Objectives: to identify and understand the refrigerant circuit on different models, where to apply the purge, backflush, and isolation procedures. Alright, this is one of a series of modules that focus on where to connect your equipment when performing specific sealed system procedures. The most common dual evaporator configurations on the market today are covered in the series. Follow all safety precaution and use your PPE. I'm assuming that's personnel protective equipment. Follow all EPA and company standards. You have access the LG manufactured and Kenmore Source 795 models and also TMM. Tech Talk, hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Each model is first shown as normally connected and then isolated for purging of the capillary tube, back flushing the high side, and isolation for leak detection purposes. Block diagrams are used just as wiring diagrams are used for electrical issues. Actual photos are included to enhance understanding. Never use oxygen or air to pressurize anything in refrigeration. Alright, with all that boring stuff out the way, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. Okay, how do we get to page 2 here? Boom. There we go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here is your standard refrigeration diagram. Let's just go over it. I hope you can see my mouse. This guy right here. So out of your compressor, out of your high side, it's going to pass through this condenser. Out of this condenser, it's going to go through this little area right here. Let's just call that your Yoda loop. It doesn't demonstrate it on here, but it does pass within the internal cavity or internal bulkhead of the refrigerator that we can't see. But after it comes out of that, passes through the dryer. Now we're going to go through our capillary and well, not capillary, but our three-way valve. So out of the dryer, it's going to go to the three-way valve, and then it's going to have two capillaries. One capillary is going to go to your freezer compartment, which represents FC. The other capillary is going to go to what represents RC, refrigerator compartment. Now, if you got something coming in, you obviously you have to have something coming out. So these two capillaries, this one and this one, they're going to supply our evaporators with freon, and out of our evaporators, we're going to return to the compressor. Return to the compressor. There's a little check valve here. We're going to talk about that check valve and the importance of that. But with that out the way, let's see what it says here. This configuration is used on all LG and Kenmore Source 795 models to date. There are 4 operating modes of the 3-way valve. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Number 1, RC only, refrigerator compartment only. That means that when this 3-way valve, it could have one position only feeding the refrigerator compartment. It could have another one feeding the freezer compartment. It could have one open to both RC and FC, and then one position which is closed to both, pump down. All right. So, seal system prep. Place the 3-way valve in the home position using the diagnostic step number 1, 888 on display. Then disconnect power to the 3-way valve or the refrigerator. Another option is to disconnect power after initial startup between 6 and 12 seconds. Let's talk about that. What they're saying here is basic. In the For Dummies version, basically, if you go to the board, right, you're going to see a little black button. You hit that little black button, the fridge is going to start going beep, beep. And when you go in front of the user interface, you're going to see on the freezer side and on the fresh food side, 88 and 88. That's what's going to be on the user interface. At that point, the refrigerator is in, if it had, we're just referring to this 795 dual evap, okay? This is not for everything else. This is just for this particular model. That, when we do that, that's going to put the 3-way valve in the home position, okay? But what they're also saying is that another option is to disconnect power after initial startup between 6 and 12 seconds. Basically this. Plug it into the wall. Count. Between 6 and 12 seconds, unplug it. So 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 7 1000, 8 1000, 9 1000, disconnect. Another thing I like to do is actually put my hand on the 3-way valve. You'll feel it. It'll go do 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 do. And basically when it like comes to a full stop, it'll do that between those 6 to 12 seconds. Then I'll just unplug it. That's the lazy way to do it. Because if you do it the first way, you got to take out the 3 screws. Those are 3 extra screws that I don't want to deal with. Although we got to put in the jig. So yeah, you might have to do it that way too. But either way works, okay? So back to what this PDF says. Okay. Note, Source 795 product has a crimp in the capillary tube just ahead of each evaporator. Okay, so there's a crimp here and there's a crimp here. Basically, I can't go on record with this, but I believe what they're talking about is the actual capillary has a crimp, like a little fat piece of the copper, where like they want you to put your capillary going into your evaporator a certain point. So basically, like say this is your capillary, as it enters your evaporator, there's like a little notch or a little fat bump in the copper tubing, like basically like go down that far is the only thing I could think of. Because when I looked at it in physical form, that's the only crimp I saw. So again, I'm not going on record for that, but that's what I believe they're referring to. But those are minor details that ain't gonna make or break this system. All right, what the hell happened there? Okay. All right, let's see. Next page, number 3. Right here. Okay. It says the highlighted areas illustrate the portions of the sealed system that are internal to the cabinet, such as the condenser loop, aka Yoder loop, hot loop, and check valve. This guy right here. Now let's think about that. What they're saying there is every place that it's yellow, like this guy, this guy, this guy, all this, we can't see it. It's literally internal. It is inside of the refrigerator. So we cannot see it. However, from the rear of the refrigerator, we do have access to some of this stuff, like the three-way valve, the dryer, the condenser, the compressor. And internally, in the refrigerator box itself, you do have access to the evaporator and the freezer coils. Okay, so let's see what else it says. All right. Check valve failure is rare, but if failed closed, only the refrigerator compartment evaporator will cool. That's a lot from hell. Check valve failure is often. What causes check valve failure, in my opinion, is the following. The way that the way that I would push nitrogen through this system is through my high side. From my compressor, I would remove this copper tubing, and based on the manufacturer label, I would push nitrogen through my condenser. I would have it go right here through my dryer. My dryer I will cut out. So let me see. That's how I would push it from my high side. Now how would I do it from my low side? Well, I would hook a valve right here. Mind you, my dryer would be disconnected. So I would have a valve right here. Let me draw that. All right, don't fail me now, okay? Add notes. All right, perfect. This is what I would do. Imagine that this guy is gone. We cut him out. So out of the compressor, oh, remember, we removed this copper line, this blue copper line. We removed that from the compressor. And here, we added a valve, right? So here's our nitrogen tank, right? Part of my drawing, y'all. Here's my hose, right? What I would do is here, I would blow, I don't know, whatever the tag says on the hot side. I think whatever it says, 300, 400, 200, whatever. I would blow right through here. It would go through my condenser. It would come through my Yoda loop or condenser loop, and it would just, into the ambient air. Nitrogen. That's the high side. Now, on my low side, right here, remember the dryer is disconnected. I would put a valve here, and then I will remove this hose. Let's remove it. Now, what I would do is I'll put the hose here to here, and I would look at the tag and see what is my low side. It's probably like 100, 125, and then I would blow. Oh, I would disconnect here as well. I would disconnect this part from the compressor so that as I blow through here with my nitrogen, it can go here. And look at the arrow of the check valve. It's going in the way it's intended, out right here. And then it's also going to do the same thing here, because remember, we have it in the home position. right there. Boom. And then out. You know what I'm saying? That's my that's my 2 cents on it. All right, let's see. So as far as check valve failure is rare, here's how it happens. Some guys, remember this compressor, they're not showing it, but it's gonna have a process stub right here. Let's draw it a different color. Let's go blue. Let's say that process stub on there, guys are gonna hook up their hose, right? They're gonna hook up their hose. So they're gonna come here to the process stub and go right here, and they're gonna go right here. All right. So what are they doing? Remember that process stub and the low side are one and the same. So what they're gonna do is as they're blowing with their nitrogen, it's gonna go backwards. It's gonna go this way. And guess what happens now? You're putting 125 psi, 200, whatever you got that going right in that direction. So guess what you did to that check valve? There you go. So as far as when they say here, check valve is failure is rare, but if failed close, only the RC evap would cool. So basically, goodbye to that, and only this would cool. So that's how that works. I hope that makes sense, y'all. All right, it failed open the freezer may get too cold. However, a complaint of that nature may never be realized. You'll never have a customer say my freezer is too cold, basically, in the for dummies terms. All right, let's go to the next page. If you liking the content, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe for all my techs that are out there. I don't just come up here and do shop talks and uh, have fun and this and that. Like I actually learn this stuff and I read and I study, so I'm just trying to pass my knowledge on to y'all. So with that said, like don't judge the channel as only an entertainment source. We also put up technical content on the channel. And if you like this kind of content and you seeking training, check out TMM Academics. All right, enough of that plug. Going on to page 4. Boom. All right, so we got some visuals here. What do we got here? Why is this so? All right. Well, apparently the screen is here. All right, so here's our compressor. Big black hermetic mushroom shaped guy right here. Big black hermetic seal with the white label on it, right? That's your compressor. Here's your process stub, right? That's where you're gonna do like your evacuating, your charging, stuff like that. But remember that this process stub is one and the same as this suction line or low side. Okay? This is your discharge, and as you see, the arrows in yellow, it's going right to your condenser. Your condenser is more than likely always next to your compressor, but sometimes it may run up the back wall or on the bottom of the box. But typically, the condensers are normally always outside, and the evaporators are normally inside. After it comes out of your condenser, let's. Is there a way to zoom in here? What the hell is going on here? How do you zoom in? Okay, that's contents. Anyway, we'll get more pictures. But if you follow my mouse, you got one copper tubing going to your condenser, one copper tubing above it. There's one here on the bottom. There's one here above. Above it, going into the actual cabinet, the box itself. That's where your Yoder loop begins. Now, as it goes through the refrigerator, the box, whatever, it comes back out. Now it's returning. It's going to your filter dryer. Here's your capillary go into your three-way valve, right? And out of that three-way valve, you got one capillary go into your freezer, follow my mouse. And then you got another capillary. Notice this little red band. We'll come back to that. But that's also going inside of your box. That's going to your fresh food compartment. We'll look at better pictures. All right. That's just some. And here's your condenser fan, relay overload. All right. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Oh, much better, guys. Much better. All right. So again, this is your compressor. We barely see him, but here's your compressor, the black silhouette. Again, this is your suction line. This goes inside of the cabinet, but this is where your refrigerant after it comes out of the evaporator and it's returning to the compressor. Okay, this is where the compressor is sucking it back toward the compressor, and out of the compressor is going to your condenser. But for this slide demonstration purposes, they're talking about this three-way valve. Well, let's look at it. You got 3 copper tubes going to it, right? Or coming out of it, or hooked up to it. Okay. Notice one goes to FC evap, freezer compartment evap. One goes to refrigerator compartment evap. And then one, this one here, is coming from your filter dryer. Okay? Now, let's see what this says. The blue band on the port tube connects to the refrigerator capillary tube. They're talking about this little blue band here. Right there. You see it? Blue band. But we'll get into that. For now, stand by on that, because we'll get into that. Anyway, let's look at what we got here. Here's our filter dryer up here. Again, out of our filter dryer, after it comes out of the Yoder loop, first stop out of the Yoder loop, filter dryer. After the filter dryer, it's going to go to that three-way valve. After that three-way valve, it's going to go 2 places. One side, notice this blue band here. Freezer compartment. Notice the red band here. Refrigerator compartment. Blue band here, red band here. Blue band freezer, red band refrigerator. The third copper tubing is the copper tubing that's coming off the dryer. Okay? Again, this discharge is going to the condenser. Off the dryer, this little tube here is our high side process stub. We discussed that on the compressor, the third copper tube coming off the compressor is your process stub on the low side, because that and the suction is one and the same. Well, if we wanted to get into our high side, off of the dryer is how we would get into our high side. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. All right, what do we got here? Okay, it says here, an initial attempt to establish a clear capillary. Okay, what are they talking about here? Capillary. Well, these capillary tubes are very thin in design. Very thin, so they clog very easily. Anytime you have like a burnt out compressor where you have like oil breakdown in the system, it could get trapped in that capillary. Any sorts of impurities or anything can get trapped in that capillary. And that's going to cause a restriction. You could have a full restriction, a partial restriction, or even a floating restriction. Get Google floating restriction and do your investigation on that. For tonight's purposes, we won't talk about that. But basically, what this slide represents is how to clear the RC, which is the refrigerator compartment cap tube. Well, how we're going to do that is where the three-way valve is going, right? You got 3 copper tubes. You got one going to the RC, one to the FC, and one that's coming out of the dryer into the three-way valve. So what they're saying is we can cut here, right, and have nitrogen exiting. That means we would have to get inside of the RC and remove this capillary, and we would have to, let's add a note. Let's do some drawing. Forgive me, I'm not an artist. You see how they have their regulated nitrogen thing? I would do it here. I will go inside of the actual box itself, and again, I'm gonna hook up my hose. I'm gonna hook up my nitrogen tank. And I'm gonna blow here in this direction, so that as nitrogen enters, it's gonna go through this capillary, hopefully, removing any obstruction out of the capillary into the ambient air. Remember that yellow represents the internal, so we can't see that. But that's how we're gonna clear this capillary tube, okay? What does this look like in real life? Well, that would look like this. We would cut here. Here's our three-way valve. We would cut here at this capillary. As this capillary enters the box, right? That's right here. Although it says exiting, this arrow is right here. How do you go back to that page? That arrow is right here. Literally, where it says red band. That is the equivalent of this. Exiting nitrogen. Now, what I'm suggesting, is on the inside. Like you got to remove the cover, the evaporator cover. You got to remove all the shelving. But once you gain access to that evaporator coil, you remove that tubing out of the evaporator and you blow into that capillary. And as you blow into that capillary, it will exit out of here, which in real life looks like right here. So from the inside, as we're blowing out, remember we cut here, you'll feel it coming out. And that's how we know that we have removed any obstruction or we have cleared our refrigerator capillary tube. All right, let's see what they got to say about it. An initial attempt to establish a clear capillary after recovering. Oh, yeah, you remember you got to recover the system. Recovering the system charge requires cutting RC port at the three-way valve and cutting the suction line between the cabinet and the compressor. This illustrates the RC cap to. Guys, the way I'm saying it, in my opinion, would be the best way. That's what they're saying, but nah, I have better luck doing it like this, from the inside and blowing outward. Or You can blow from the rear as well and cut here. You can do it either side, whatever you're comfortable. But that's what I would say that works. Okay, what it says? Use up to the maximum of nitrogen pressure, but do not exceed the low side design test pressure rating. That's what I'm saying. See, like it's saying here, do not exceed 170 psi if the low design pressure is rated above 170. So even if it says it's 170 or higher, don't exceed 170. So follow the tag. If it says 120, 130, 140, stick to that, but never exceed 170. In this setup, the check valve prevents any nitrogen flow through the freezer evaporator in the reverse flow purge. See, that's what they're talking about, like doing it here. That's why I don't do it from this side. That's why I do it from the normal flow so that I don't interfere with the check valve. If you do that, you don't got to worry about it. All right, let's see what the next tag is. Next slide. Whoa, look at that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so here's what your, okay, look. Here's what your inside of your freezer. Here's what the inside of your refrigerator evaporator coils look like. So again, as it's coming out of this, remember the red band? Red band means the refrigerator. Red refrigerator. Think of that. Blue freezer. Blue cold. Blue. Brr. So red refrigerator. Blue freezer. All right. So refrigerator comes here. It enters your evaporator, and then the thick copper line is what going back into the bulkhead. That's what this one represents. This big thick copper line here, going back to the compressor, the one that says suction line. So from here on the thick copper line, that goes to here where it says suction line, all right? And then RC evaporator capillary from here goes inside, and that's the little thin line we see here, okay? Same thing with the fresh food, I'm sorry, freezer compartment. Blue band enters, I guess the one with the black tape going around it is the one that comes back to this thick tubing, which comes back to where it says suction line. Okay, once again shown here on the actual product, dash lines are drawn where the heat exchangers and check valve are inside of the foam cabinet wall. So dash lines are where the heat exchangers and the check valve are inside of the cabinet. Like we can't see because of the actual cabinet, but these green lines represent that. So like this blue check, there's our check valve. Here's our heat exchanger. I'm sorry, the green dashes. All right. So blue dots are your capillaries. Green dashes are your heat exchangers. And here's your, what's this again? Check valve. Now, what's this saying? Follow pressure limitations described. Nitrogen applied to the suction line goes through the RC evaporator. So nitrogen applied through the suction line goes through the refrigerator compartment evaporator and returns through the cap tube, which is open to the atmosphere, disconnected from the three-way valve in the machine compartment. Place a shop towel and a container at the exit port. At the exit point whenever purging in order to collect debris and also to see it. What are you blowing out? Does it look beat up? Is it black? Is it oily? You want to keep blowing nitrogen through the system until you don't see no more of that junk. The check valve should prevent flow through the freezer compartment evaporator. Again, guys, I like to do it. And if I do anything through the low side, very low pressures, 85 or less. Because again, that check valve, man, not trying to blow it. All right, what's next? Okay. Oh, look at that. Look, they even drew one into the diagram. So remember, we were talking about clearing the capillary tube on the refrigerator compartment. Solder one of these bad boys. Cut it out of the three-way valve. Remember, RC red band. Cut it out right here by the three-way. Blow through and out of the capillary where enters the refrigerator compartment is where you're gonna have the nitrogen exit the system. So if you was to go from the three-way valve, it would exit in the refrigerator compartment right here in this area. Remember, you got to disconnect it though. You got to unsolder the capillary from that evaporator, and you'll feel it. It'll come out like psh. You want nice, good flow. You don't want like a hiccupy, burpy, like nah. You want to just psh, nice and good pressure. All right, what else we got here? All right. A second attempt to establish. How many more pages we got? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We may have to do a part two of this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. Oh, they want to. Oh, yeah, because we got to do the side. Oh, yeah. Whew. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. Ladies and gentlemen, that was part one of probably part 3 or 4. This is probably my first real online like training with you guys, like hardcore training. And I don't know if a lot of I don't know if 100% of this made sense. I don't know if a lot of this remember, I'm doing all of this from a computer. I can't see you, you can't see me. If this made sense, if it didn't make sense, this just like I was just experimenting tonight, and I wanted to just debunk or make sense of some of this big LG dual evap uh, problems the guys are having out there. I wanted to just make sense of it. If y'all rocking with it and you guys like the content, please hit the like, subscribe, share button. Leave me your comments below. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know how I could improve. Let me know what I did good. Let me know what I did bad. Let me know what you learned. Let me know what your experience is. Please comment. Let's get our comments up. Let's get our shares up. When you go inside of your apart houses, tell your homeboys about me. Hey, check out TMM Appliance Network. I'm doing all this for the community. Show love back, y'all. In the name of love, peace, and harmony, Happy New Year's. Hope y'all enjoyed the content tonight. Again, take care. Be safe out there.